Hi, everybody, and welcome to the third video here in this series, going over my sketchbooks that were inspired by Ted Forbes and the art of photography uh, for his photo assignments. Now, remember, these are photographer sketchbooks. As I mentioned in Volume 2, I started feeling the need to go to something a little bit less structured as far as an actual sketchbook. So instead of having line paper, I wanted something with no lines whatsoever. And I also wanted to start sketching more. uh, like I like to say, get my Saul Leiter on. Saul Leiter, if you follow Ted, you know he was a photographer, a street photographer, very famous, and eventually became a painter. And some of his most famous sketchbooks are his sketchbooks that include painting and photography. And if you look at there's a wonderful book about photographer sketchbooks. I'll put a link in the description below to that on Amazon. And I would like to thank my friend Sue Ann Lynn for gifting me this book about photographer sketchbooks. And one of the big parts is, of course, Saul's sketchbooks. Now, Saul isn't now. I myself am not an artist. I'm not a great drawer. I'm not a great painter, but you will see some of that in this sketchbook. Now, the sketchbook I decided to switch to is known as the Leda. This is a mother Leda, which is they're medium size. You can get those on Amazon. They are fantastic sketchbooks, by the way. I have replaced all my sketchbooks. Like Volume 4 is another Leda. My pocket journals, which I'll do separate videos for those, as I'm already on the second volume of that, are also Ledas. And Leda also sent me one of their big ones called the Zeus, which I call now my Print and Possibilities sketchbook, where I do mostly alternative process prints directly in there, and you'll see one in this book real quickly, as well as paint and drawing that, primarily for my storyboard purposes, for when I do editorials. So let's go ahead and go through this sketchbook. Now, with the Ledas, the first thing I do is I do a dedication page. Here's a picture of Faye, my muse. This is a cyanotype done directly into the book using a technique I call brush development. And here's a self-portrait done in watercolor. Now, like any other sketchbook for a photographer, a lot of it is text. And here I started switching over to giving a little black box and marking things so that way when I go to scan in these pages into Evernote at the end, so I can have a digital copy of my sketchbooks and basically journal, photography journal, I can do that. Here's some stuff I did with some Crayola markers I got. These are basically swatching it out. Here's one of the photo assignments, and here's a sketch. Like I said, most of this text goes over what I thought about doing the photo assignments, things like that. This is another from a photo session. I like to do paste-ins of photos sessions I've done and my favorite prints that I've edited out. This is all shot on Polaroid Type 52. This is another image over here. This is Yvonne. You might see her online as Henna. This is my friend Jasmine, a portrait I did of her. This is my friend Rain. This is Faye for a project we are doing on Patreon. Here's 4 landscapes that I did. 2 of these are in watercolors, 2 are in poster paint / tempera. The tempera is from Crayola, the watercolors are from Koi. Here I am trying to sketch, and another little thing from a marker piece from Crayola markers. And if you'll notice, I went from printing to going to cursive writing, which I found much easier on my hand. I also, at this point, started using a fountain pen, which I found much easier to write with because it stops the cramping in my hand. You don't need as much pressure. And I actually really like working with a fountain pen, and I've pretty much switched over entirely to writing with this. Right here is a fold-over page going over the photography gig that I did with Pauline Yee for Night Falcon magazine. These are the selects. And over here I go over some editing notes for post-process. Here's some more notes, basic stuff about photography, a quick watercolor painting I did in the leftover area. Here's some work with pen and ink, doing some quick sketching. Again, more notes. A lot of this is going to be text, like I had mentioned before. A lot of this is about things to do, things like that. This is a little bit about a shoot, and if you notice, I start doing a lot of this in this journal, where this is something I picked up from Santario's sketchbook, where he started pasting in his tickets, notes on what he bought, things like that. This right here is, as you see, zine update. I'm working on a zine entirely, which I'm going to call, 16 by 9, which is entirely shot with my Samsung Galaxy. This is a quick sketch out of some makeup I wanted done for a photo shoot I did. Here's some doodling. I started wanting to do doodling more. And over here are the first time I started doing the online on YouTube Croquis Cafe work and doing some quick sketches. These are challenging, by the way, if you've never done them before. The first ones that are 1 minute are quite hard to get the shape initially. The dance challenges are even harder because they only give you 15 seconds for the poses. Here's some more text about doodling and things like that. Trying to schedule myself how to do my job. Eventually, I would start using a bullet journal to do this a little bit more. This is a quick, heavy-duty doodle that I did using Pigma Micron Sharpies and the Sharpie pen, which doesn't bleed, and of course Crayola markers. Eventually, I do like using the Crayola markers, believe it or not. They're actually pretty good, and they work well with the Tombow blender because they're also water-based. The Tombos are much better overall, but I do like working with both. Over here, some more text going over stuff. This is how I denote an update. If I haven't written something in a while, you'll see a lot of that in here. Here's another quick little watercolor sketch that I did. Here's some information about some equipment I had purchased and something I'd love to get. I want to get a Minox to do my current project. Another sketch here done with marker. Some more notes and the creation of my key that you'll start seeing used in this sketchbook along with the volume 4. Another Croquis Cafe job. This one's done in non-photo blue. And also, as you see right here, this has to do with photography. The key is green is for having to do anything with photography. And this is my Instagram this week, where I plan out what shots I'm going to put out on Instagram. Here you see more sketching right through here. This is a more complex doodle that I did, and as you see, the pink means doodling. Here's a marker and white gel piece that I did on the concept of isolation and loneliness. Here's some notes about a photo shoot I did. Here's the crew. Here's a photo of myself with my Polaroid 110B, the camera I used for this shoot, and I'll show you a bit about that. This is the copy for the article I wrote for Night Falcon, and these final ones right here are the final edited images that I submitted of Pauline for the article. And as you see, it's a pretty intense latex-based shoot. There's a whole story behind that and how things got done for that. And here are some notes about who was involved in it. Here is a quick sketch. More text. Yes. Now this again is obviously, if you see this folded over like this is a mood board for a shoot that I did for Minako Co. And this is all based on Metropolis. And when I put in these sorts of sheets, you tend to use less expensive paper. And for the finals, I tend to now use a glossy Hewlett-Packard stock. And basically, I just fold these in and just go like that. Here's a quick little doodle, more notes, another painting. And this is a drawing of Metropolis because I'm being inspired by this. This is basically like a doodle sketch. And I decided to give it a tint similar to they used to do in silent film, where they would, for different scenes, they would tint the prints actually, and before they sent them to the cinema. For this, I painted over with Higgins red India ink. and more notes. And this is a edit sheet of what I wanted to edit from a shoot I did with Yvonne. Over here is a doodle. This is based on the Orbital Human Circus podcast of the Second Imaginary Symphony. And this is supposed to be the Cloud Factory and the Cloud Ship right there. So the Cloud Ships aren't exactly in the thing. This is another doodle real quick of the clock control box in the factory. This is just this right here is a doodle that I did, which is with multiple different colored markers, fine liners from Sharpie. Basically, my mind was thinking about the creation of the clouds, and I was wondering what would something like that actually look like. So this is just my imagination. These are photos of Faye that she sent me. I was discussing something, and these are the finals of my work with Yvonne. And as you see that's there. And over here is a ticket from when I went over to do something over there. And these are the ones from Mimika Co, also with Yvonne. As you see, these are some beautiful things that we eventually got. And here's the inspiration. This doodle here. Here I did some notes about some inspiration things and some drawing things. And this right here is a doodle of the Robot Factory from the play RUR, which I listened to on an Audible thing. And here's some more sketching about sketching techniques using blocks and things like that. And over here, you're going to see this pasting. These are the selects for the light paintings for that photo you saw me with the entire crew. These are all done in light paintings. This is Kodak XR. These are the raw scans before editing. Over here is my first work with the Tombow markers, trying to figure out exactly how to work with them. Eventually I looked up a video. This is a Prismacolor pencil I picked up. More work with the Prismacolor. Me playing around with how to shade hair. And me playing around with the Tombows and checking to see how it compares to the Leda paper versus actual watercolor paper. It works a lot better on regular watercolor paper. The Leda paper, while you can do work with the Tombows on it, trust me on that, you can't really layer heavily. Obviously, you can't do those heavy layering and washing because the paper's not really designed for that. It's more for sketching. This is me playing around with a Tombow marker and the Tombow blender. Here's my first sketch using the Tombows primarily, and as you can see, you can really do some beautiful work with these with a water brush. It doesn't bleed through. Here's a swatch of my newest Tombows. This is just a quick sketch. This is a sketch. This right here is a doodle about New York Fashion Week, since this was during that time period. Here's a quick doodle trying to come up with something action-y, something like that. This is a portrait of Faye, another portrait of Faye. This has to do with something else we were doing. And over here is a photo assignment. This is a shoot. This shot is by my friend Pauline St. Dennis, but I did the lighting for it. And here's my ticket, and this is where I discussed what it was like to work on that shoot. I had loaned her my Pentax 645Z and taught her how to use it, and this is one of the shots she produced with the lighting I did. And I also did the post work on this, and she absolutely loved it. Over here, some more stuff about RUR and me working on an eye. This is a little quick drawing I did of the character Falstaff, because I love Falstaff. Falstaff is one of my favorite characters, and I had just finished watching a film by Orson Welles called Chimes at Midnight, and this is a drawing of Falstaff right there. This is another drawing. This is trying to get a little bit more anime with it, but not very successful. This is just a quick doodle inspired by the work of Peter Draws on YouTube. Over here, some more quick paintings. Some of these are watercolors, some are tempera, like this piece, and these two right here are acrylic. This is a watercolor piece here. These two are tempera. These two are watercolor, and these two are acrylic painting, doing something abstract. And this is just some strange landscape. And then finally, over here, we have the finals from the light painting session that I did. And these came out really, really well. These are the final edited pieces. Sorry for the glare. Over here, the notes on that. And that's where then we end out with this final doodle in blue, just something interesting. And that's where we end this uh, video right here, because that's the end of the sketchbook. So thank you for sticking around for part 3. As soon as I finish up volume 4, the volume I'm working on right now, and I could probably throw that on here real quick. So let me show you where that is right now. Now this is the volume I'm currently working on, and I just started this last month, so it's not fully full. Since the Ledas don't have a little tail like string to keep bookmarks, I have a bookmark that I printed out, and I'm going to quickly remove that. And we'll go over what we have in this sketchbook real quick, just to show you what I'm working on right now. So right here you will see a dedication. This is a poem by David Lukenfeld. Here's something where I'm trying to go kind of Roger Deanish with it. This is another view of the Cloud Factory. This is something inspired by Roger Dean and a few other things. This is entirely in pencil using the Leda lead holder. Basically, it looks like a Stapler mechanical pencil, but it's very nice. And they sent it to me. It came with a collection of 5B leads. I recently purchased some HB leads because 5B, while I do like it, I think it's a little dark for what I need to use it for, but it works beautifully. These are some ideas for a more Roger Dean inspired cloud ship. These are some photos from the Patreon thing. These are the finals that I've done with Faye. These are all the edits. You can follow that on Patreon. It's called A Salute to Summer. Once again, more notes. Me trying to play with a brush pen and failing greatly. These are a day at the museum with my friend Rose. I'm not sure what exactly to call it, but there's wonderful Rose. Here she is in the gallery, and here's some guy who was selling paintings. This is a quick drawing, figure drawing, and it's not that great. Over here are some, trying to cover the naughty bits, some work I did with Ashley and Michelle. Some of this is Instax work. Some of these are obviously with medium format. And here's Michelle, some beautiful shots of her. This is some street photography, wandering around the streets in New York City. This is, again, my Instagram in this week post. And over here are the selects for a gig I did with Bronner Dane for a magazine submission. And we're going to have that hopefully out soon. Over here is a doodle playing around with one doodle playing around with some shading stuff. Not that successful. Over here is a doodle using some compasses and pigment pens. And over here is a swatch. I just got a collection of gouache that I wanted to play with because I never played with it. This is from when I went to see Blade Runner. Here I am playing around with ink wash using different ink wash and gel pens. It bled a little bit because I put too much into the paper and eventually it bled through. Some more notes. This is the most recent thing. Some drawings I did. More comic booky. I kind of like where I'm going with this. And over here, here's the last page. And this is a fashion sketch that I did real quick last night. So there's there's volume 3, and of course volume 4 of my current photography journals. Thank you, and see you soon.